Hello, good morning, and welcome to Morning Brew on Politics Social. I'm Graham Hughes. Welcome to everyone in the chat. We've got Duke Custard, no Duke Vengeance. We've got Plum Duff. We've got Gareth T, Maureen O'Mara. We've got Jane Lockwood, Lofty the Softy. We've got Johan in there. We've got Reagan Elise. Hello. We've got Katrina in there as well, and Rob, Sisk and Edge, and others. Right. You might have noticed there was no chat yesterday on the screen. It was on, the other side if you're watching on a monitor, or underneath if you're watching on a phone. But it wasn't actually on the page. The problem is that for some reason that we are yet to ascertain, we spent many hours yesterday trying to suss this one out. The chat is coming up like this. It's coming up like this normally. So what I've had to do is a bit of a bodge job, and it means that if I decide to scroll back through your messages, you'll be able to see me scrolling back through your messages. That makes it more interactive, or what? But there you go. Anyway, Regan says, please join the conversation, but please be respectful. Yes, indeed. So yesterday, Farage decided to make another video. A plea? What the hell is that noise? I think a vehicle is reversing outside my house. He decided to make a plea to Elon Musk. Musk, please look at me. Look at me, Elon. It was so pathetic. He feels like he's going to team up with the richest man in the world in some kind of dystopian supervillain mashup. Frogman meets Lex Luthor. This is pathetic. Beyond pathetic. But it does show that Farage is panicking. He is panicking. Why is he panicking? Because his crappy little party, his refuck party that he is the head of, is tanking in the polls. Why? Because he, in a lot of people's opinions, he is responsible for the riots that took place last week and earlier this week. Because he went on social media and irresponsibly blamed the police for not releasing enough information on the killer in Southport. Even though the killer was 17 years old. And Farage went on the internet with a video to say, oh, they're not telling us the whole story, are they? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's obviously someone from, one of those countries that we don't like, who's come across on a boat to murder us. Which wasn't the case at all. In fact, the boy was born in just outside Cardiff, in Wales. He's Welsh more than anything else. But this is Farage for you. This is typical Farage, and now he's doubled down. He's begging for Elon to look down on him from above. Please look at me, Elon. Because he's not going to get any support from the rest of us, and he's not going to get any support from the people who rioted on his behalf, or people say rioted on his behalf, who are now facing lengthy custodial sentences as a result of what they did over the last week and a half. We're having speedy trials, 24-hour courts, people going down, people in tears, in court, in tears, going down as they realise that's their holiday gone. That's their job gone. That's possibly their home gone, their house, possibly their wife as well gone. Just, found someone else to keep her warm for the next 3 years while they're in the big house. And also, when I say the holidays, I mean like this summer. Yeah, no, forever. Like these people, because ETIAS comes in next year, and that's going to mean that if it's up to the EU, but if they're anything like the US, they'll go, okay, well, I'm going to stop any criminals coming in. So if you've had a criminal conviction in the last X many years that has resulted in a custodial sentence, you can kiss goodbye to your holidays to Torremolinos or Ibiza or to the south of France or to Italy or Greece or wherever you want to go. No, mate, you're here. You're stuck here on this horrible little rock because of two little shitty things that you did, mate. You voted for Brexit to trap us all on this rock, and then you went and rioted. A race riot, a racist riot that was instigated, some say, by Nigel Farage and his mates who stirred the pot. And this is why Farage riots went trending last week, and why Farage went on the radio the other day to go, oh, but it wasn't me. I didn't do it. The people are saying Farage riots. That's just out of order. And I'm like, yeah, mate. Yeah. Cry me a river. Cry me a river, you horrible little man. You horrible little nicotine-stained frog-faced. See you next Tuesday. Yeah, little nicotine-stained man-frog. The bollocked-faced foghorn of ignorance. But one of the reasons why he also might be panicking right now is because yesterday there was a knock on someone's door. A woman just outside of Cheshire who was arrested, 55 years old, for spreading misinformation on the internet. She was arrested for that. Oh, so you're telling me you can be arrested for spreading misinformation that leads to a violent riot, arson, possible terrorism charges. You can be arrested for that, can you? Well, that's interesting. Just going to pour myself a little bit of coffee. Wake me up a little bit. What a terrible thing to have happened to that poor woman. Spreading racist lies on the internet. Oh well, never mind. Anyway, Patrick McCarthy said, I wouldn't like to keep her warm. Well, you know, that's what Farage and his mates want, innit? Because maybe they can move in there. Alan Jackson, thank you very much for that super chat. Can't work out how you feel about Frogface. It's a good question. Thank you very much for the super chat, mate. Yeah, I can't work it out either. I either hate him or I really, really hate him. Graham Tom Molina says, gay paradise. Love to live there with you, my brave European ginger. I don't know what Kat would have to say about that, but yeah, all right, I'll give it a go. Now 100 says, if they love Britain as much as they say, they can put some money in Britain's seaside towns. They are in sore need of it these days. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was talking to Phil about this yesterday because I was slagging off Blackpool. He's like, oh, I don't mind Blackpool. And I'm like, mate, it was bad in the 90s. It was bad in the 90s. The 80s and the 90s. I mean, I grew up in Liverpool, so we'd go to Blackpool to see the illuminations. We'd probably go there at least once a year growing up. And it was a shithole then. And then it got a little bit better, actually. I went in the mid-noughties. And it sort of picked itself up a bit. But then the Tories got back in and it all went to shit again. It's an unfortunate place, Blackpool these days. And they did vote in 2 Tory MPs to try and sort the place out. That didn't work, did it? One of them got kicked out of Parliament for being corrupt. Bit of corruption, trying to sell government secrets to what was it, a gambling company, was it? Oh, okay. Oh, Scott Benton of South Blackpool constituency. Anyway, I think both of those MPs are now gone from the Tories to Labour. Are now Labour MPs. So maybe it'll get better in the next few years. I don't know. Katrina Anna Ofsted's registration as a childminder has been suspended. Oh God, crying my eyes out. Oh, what a shame! What a shame! I didn't expect to be arrested for this crime I committed. Do you know why? Because it's just been allowed, hasn't it? By Elon Musk, and it's been encouraged by the likes of Nigel Farage and Trump and all this. Did anyone see the interview with Trump The interview with Trump, 1 hour, carried on every single major news network in America and on the BBC, carried live with no fact checking. Everything that Trump said was a lie. He actually said that Kamala Harris wasn't smart enough to do an interview. This is the woman who went to Harvard. And he compared his inauguration, in which 20,000 people turned up, he said that was bigger than when Martin Luther King spoke at the Million Man March in the 1960s, in which 1 million people turned up. And everyone's just watching it going, yeah, this is fine. Of course, Kamala, she didn't get her speech last night televised on all the major networks. No, but Trump did. From his home, from his house. He went, I can't be asked going anywhere. Just come to me and ask me questions and I won't answer them. I'll just lie. Anyway, it is because he dropped Tommy in it, says Darren Brown. Yes. Yes. Basically, he's blamed it all on Tommy 10 names. But don't forget, when Farage went on the radio earlier this week to try and justify what he had done and what he had set in place, set in motion, said, oh, worse stuff is yet to come, wink, wink, and then worse stuff came. Funny that. He said, oh, well, you know, I read on hundreds of different sources of information that this kid who did this terrible thing was a Muslim and that he came across on a boat. You know, people were saying these things. Who was saying these things, Nigel? Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate, the sex trafficker. The sex trafficker with no penis. I don't know if you've seen the picture of him. It must be, I was saying this must be photoshopped because the man has no penis. He's all Ken down there, if you know what I mean. Right, that, like, seriously. You know the guy who lost the high jump because he jumped over the high jump and his equipment hit the bar? Right, yeah. Taint wouldn't have a problem with that. He really would not have a problem with that. Thank you very much to Gareth for the super chat. That's very kind of you. Our first rioter is now in custody, feeling very, very sorry for himself. He's now on a wing with the highest Muslim population in the jail. Now the boot's on the other foot. Oh dear, how sad. Never mind. Cheers to that, Gareth, from the report from inside. Gareth's our inside man in more ways than one. But yeah, thanks for that. That'll keep you all, amused, I think, for the next few minutes, I think. Very stripy zebra. Very stripy I'm obsessed with badges, aren't I? Very stripy zebra says, Blackpool, I love the smell of sugar and chips in the morning. Greasy chips and greasier tea. Scott Walton, to be fair to Harris, Trump's press conference was awful, made Pat Biden look like a fit young man by comparison. It did. It was bloody awful. And it was so dystopian. It was like, oh God, our country's shit. It's awful. Everything's going awful. Everything's going bad. You can see it. It's all so bad. And all these bad things that happened, they wouldn't have happened if I was in charge. No way. They wouldn't have happened. And it was just so miserable. It was so grinchy. It was like, oh my God, haven't you got Christmas to steal? Meanwhile, Kamala's conference speeches that she's made, and hopefully she's going to do some interviews soon, have all been really positive, and she's smiling and laughing and telling jokes, and just everyone seems to be having a good time. Not at Trumpland. Trumpland is like, and he lost his shit about the fact that she filled up the arena that he didn't manage to fill up the week earlier. Oh my God, he lost his shit over that. Then actually, we had 100,000 people. The media don't report that. We had 100,000. No, you didn't, mate. You had about 5,500 people. You didn't fill up the top tiers of that arena, mate. She did. She filled them all up. There were people sitting there. I don't think they were cardboard cutouts because they were moving. Anyway, it's Tommy 10 Names. It's Tommy No Knob. No, Andrew Taint. Andrew Taint posted a picture of him wearing like some particularly metrosexual underwear, which is fine. But there was no bulge. That was no. I don't know if he had tucked under or something while he was sitting down, but there was nothing there. And I won't share the picture with you because Andrew Tate's face makes me want to vomit. He's, along with having no chin, he's got no. Some of the names that people have been coming up with have been very, very funny indeed. Plumduff, that female prison officer at Wandsworth took customer service to a new level. Ooh, yes, she did. What a lovely day to do absolutely nothing, says Duke Vengeance. Everything's shit because of Nigel Farage. But actually, Vendetta, not everything's shit because we have a sensible government in charge who did what needed to be done. And it is very, very life-affirming that thousands of people turned out all over the country to say, no, not in my name, which was absolutely brilliant. I was worried about clashes, like, the fascists turning out and causing fights with people, but they didn't turn out. I mean, there's that amazing picture from Brighton where they've got like a handful, literally like 5 people kettled in by the police, and the whole street is full with thousands of anti-racist protesters, like saying, Nazi scum off our streets. No balls, says Moonfest Madness. Yeah, no, indeed. Tommy 10 Names has no balls since he won't come back here and face the music, the coward. Blue Cup Blue, Bloody Blue. Yes. For the Democrats, my friends, the joy, and Everton, the joy of hearing Farage have a crackle in his voice, he was worried. He was. You could hear it when he was doing this interview with Tom Swarbrick. He was really rattled. Tom Swarbrick said, why are you spreading lies? Well, I wasn't lying. I didn't tell any lies. No, you take that back. That's very mean of you. I never told no lies. And I was like, okay, Nige. But the hashtag Farage Riots was trending on Musk's platform for many days because a lot of people in this country, myself included, blame Nigel Farage for what happened. Absolutely blame him every step of the way. because that man is horrific. He is a horrifying toad who has been sent here from another world to just mess up ours. And he is exactly the person that you expect him to be under any given circumstances. And let's not forget, okay, this is the man for which Brexit would not have happened if it wasn't for him. As simple as that. He's the one who made it an issue for people. And he was rich, privately educated, and well connected enough to make people care about what he had to say about the EU. Now we're out the EU, they want to take us out to the European Convention of Human Rights, which we helped set up. It's one of Winston Churchill's crowning achievements, according to Winston Churchill himself, along with being the first president of the European movement. Not a lot of people know that, but Winston Churchill was the first president of the European movement. Nigel Farage has shat all over the legacy of both Winston Churchill and Margaret Thatcher, who basically worked our way to getting massive opt-outs and a refund from the EU for how much we had to pay to be part of it, and also was one of the main pushers of the original single market in the 1980s. I mean, talk about crapping all over your own legacy, Tories. But, Brexit voters. But I tell you what, those rioters, I know a lot of them were under 25, so they couldn't have voted in the referendum. But the older ones, they all voted to leave. Every single one of them. If they could vote, maybe they were in jail at the time, so they couldn't vote. But if they were not in jail at the time of the referendum, I guarantee 100% of them voted for leave. So if you voted for leave, that's the company you keep. They're the people on your side on this. And I'm like, not great. I love my hometown. Yay, Brighton, says Captain Bart Roberts, and drops a super chat into the chat. Thank you so much for that, Captain Bart Roberts. It's very, very kind of you. And yay, Brighton's awesome. I've been to Brighton a few times, and I went to the Great Escape Festival a couple of times. Oh, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. One time I had like a big camera. I don't know if I have it. Do I have it? No. I had like a big video camera, and I just turned up with this camera and just managed to get into all the venues, even though I didn't have a pass, because I had the camera and I had the microphone, and I was just going around interviewing people in the queue. And they got to the front and said, I'm with the band, we're doing a documentary. And they were like, okay, in you go. Oh, it was great. So if you want to get into gigs for free, I shouldn't give away all my tips, actually. I do know how to get into Glastonbury for free, if anyone wants to know. I possibly shouldn't put that on the internet. Like that guy who put on the internet, like how he snuck into Glastonbury under a bridge. And I'm like, why you put this on the internet? You're spoiling it for everyone else now. Anyway, not that I've ever snuck into Glastonbury. Been to 16 Glastonburys. Never, ever, ever have I not paid for a ticket. Even when, they were only 50 quid and you could probably sneak in very, very easily because there was no super fence. And you buy them from Probe Records in town, in Liverpool. Anyway, God, could you imagine that? Glastonbury tickets, just walk into a record shop and go, can I have a Glastonbury ticket? Like 2 weeks before the festival. And they're like, yes, sir. That'll be £58, please. And you're like, ka-ching. Thank you. Wow. Michael Foy, Starmer also needs to thank the people who do actually love their own country and local communities, as opposed to Farage, who hates them and it. He does. I mean, the Farage doesn't really, I don't think he cares. Thank you very much for the message there, Michael. But I don't think he cares enough to hate us. Do you know what I mean? He's just interested in feathering his own nest. It's just one grift to the next. He's a grifter. That's what he is. This is what he does. This is all he does. I'll take to be a Portaloo at Glastonbury, says Plum Duff, indeed. Gary Arnold, I think he's in Greece now. That's Tommy 10 Names is in Greece. They put the good back into old Sussex by the sea, indeed. And Sean says, yeah, right, Graham. I don't know if he's saying, yes, that's right, or, yeah, right, Graham. So, context there. Howard says, but that mean that Farage shouldn't be incarcerated until he pays back the amount of moronic dogma. His moronic dogma has cost us all. What do you mean impossible? Oh, well, changes now. Well, yeah. I mean, the knock to the British economy is measured in billions. The knock to pension funds, to investment, foreign direct investment, the knock to assets that were in this country and are no longer. That's measured in trillions. That's a million. That's giving £1 million to everyone in Liverpool. Everyone in Liverpool gets £1 million. No, they get 2 million. They get £2 million each, every man, woman, and child in Liverpool. That's how much a trillion is. It is just an insane, eye-watering amount of money. Johnny Copperhead. We must stop calling the Farage riots because it'll upset Nigel Farage. Yeah, right. Like we give an FC UK about his feelings. Thank you very much, Johnny Copperhead, for that super chat. And yes, I'm not going to stop calling them the Farage riots because they are the Farage riots. In my opinion, people are saying they're the Farage riots. He spread misinformation on the internet. He accused the police, the Crown Prosecution Service, the government of lying to the people over the ethnic identity of the murderer of those little girls in Southport last week. I mean, you couldn't... He's used the tragic death of these kids for not just political ends, which is disgusting in itself, but in order to foment... riots, violence against coppers. They burnt down a Citizens Advice Bureau in Hartlepool. They burnt down a library, a community library in Liverpool on County Road. They tried to burn down a Holiday Inn in Rotherham where people were inside the building. Domestic terrorism. Nigel Farage encouraged domestic terrorism in a lot of people's opinion. Now, what's happened to the likes of Anjem Choudhury for doing exactly the same thing? But that was obviously Muslim terrorism. He's gone to jail for life. He's never getting out. That guy's going to die in jail. Do you think that Farage should get any less? Do you? If anyone gets done on terrorism charges because they were trying to kill people for the colour of their skin, the modern equivalent of a lynch mob, that's what they were. And Farage instigated that. Farage put them out on the streets and said, "Yeah, go, my lovelies." And don't think this wasn't planned for a long time in advance. I don't think this was not an ad hoc thing. They were just waiting for something to happen that they could try and pin on people coming over in boats, people who weren't white, to allow the racists off their leash, to go and terrorize people. And people, make no mistake, people have been terrorized. My friends who are, black, Asian, gay friends, trans friends, are worried, are scared to go to their own town and city centres because of these people. They have been sufficiently terrorized. Okay? So, terrorism charge for Farage. Yeah, bring it on. Bring it on. Billy Kershaw, don't agree with Uncle Phil's take on JSO false equivalent argument. I still think the JSO sentences were unduly harsh. I've read the notes from the sentencing notes from the judge. I understand the thinking behind it because they pled not guilty. They disrupted the court proceedings, which is going to piss the judge off. You don't want to piss the judge off because they can decide, how long you can be put in jail. And the amount of disruption they were trying to cause would have been like crazy. However, I think that any rioters who have actually committed violent acts against the police should get at least what the JSO 5 got. At least, at the very, very least. Four of them, wasn't it? Sarah Davis, when the rioters are shouting, "Go home and stop the boats," it's also the last government who are guilty of inciting the riots. Yeah, like I say, this is planned for a long time. Like they might not have known what would be the trigger in order to get people out on the streets, but they knew that they needed to get people out on the streets. And as soon as this happened, Farage is there with his fucking Union Jacks behind him, like he's the president of the United Kingdom or something. He's a two-bit backbench MP for a shitty party that, he's got 5 MPs, for Christ's sake. 20% of his party were jailed, got a custodial sentence for violence against women. 20% of the party, 20% of all of his MPs. Anthony Fisher, thank you very much for the super chat there, mate. That's very kind of you. I worry that hate crime will rise. Well, that's what Farage wants, and that's what I hope our country will not give him. I've got the feeling that there's been a few things that are going to put people off. And look, I might be horribly wrong, and it might kick off again this weekend if the weather's good. But there's a few things. First of all, it was raining yesterday. Secondly, the sentencing, very quick. Oh my God, if I turn up at these riots, I could end up being put away for a few years and I'll lose everything. Not worth it. Not worth it for Nigel Farage. You know, Nigel Farage is sitting there cackling away with Tommy 10 Names and Elon Musk and all these lot, you know, begging to, you know, for people to go out and cause trouble on their behalf while they sun themselves in foreign climes. Usually, mostly Lawrence Fox. Lawrence Fox should be arrested. Lawrence Fox should be arrested when he gets back to the UK. Tommy Robinson, Tommy 10 Names, Stephen Laxley Lennon, the Irish citizen who claims he's more British than British, even though he's got an Irish passport. Him and Farage, arrest them all. Make a public spectacle of them. But yeah, the arrest is one thing, and also the amount of people who showed up. You know, I think there's going to be people who are like, oh, let's meet up on you know, on Saturday in this given town, and they'll be thinking, but what if no one turns up? What if there's only 5 of us and there's thousands of anti-racist protesters there? Do you know what I mean? Like, they've got to deal with that. So the idea that, well, I don't want to be the first one to go out. It's, you know, what if there's no one there, and that will put other people off from going? So there's 3 factors there. Also, the footy starts again next week, so hopefully that'll give them something else to do. It's brilliant watching the chat next to Graham. I get to pretend I'm called Politics Social. Thanks very much. That's Where's Wheel there. Purity Vendetta. As Phil pointed out the other day, Tamworth's new Labour MP did an interview outside the hotel that was attacked, saying Tamworth wants its hotel back. I was rather unimpressed. Yeah, that's not great, is it? With no constituency office, they won't last long. When I get paid, well, it's a private company, isn't it? Right, fuck, isn't it? Captain says the Farage riots another seedy part of his legacy. Absolutely, they are. Darren Brown says, I'm glad he chucked Tommy under the bus. Now his own fans hate him. Indeed, he did. He didn't chuck Elon under the bus, though. Elon Musk should be under the bus. That's where he belongs, as far as I'm concerned. But he didn't end up there. Kind of, you know, unfortunately, to some extent. Just bring this up here. Okay, should we just nip over to the papers for a moment? Should we go and paper ourselves? I don't know if you even want to do this, because it's just, I don't know, I hate the papers. But yesterday was weird. Like, Phil had the papers up behind him. I don't know if you could read the headlines very well, but basically it was saying, you know, this is amazing. All these good people have turned out to tell the rioters to piss off. And it's like, you mean those rioters who read your papers? Okay. Anyway, so there's a terrible story in the Mirror about this machete and bomb plot at a Taylor Swift gig in Austria, in Vienna. This is awful because, and again, young girls being targeted by nutters. Thankfully, this wasn't a lone nutter. He had talked to other radical Islamists about, you know, his plans, and obviously the security service picked up on it, and it was foiled. But Taylor Swift still had to cancel her concerts this weekend, which is heartbreaking for young people, and also like for people who want to go to concerts, want to take their kids to concerts after that Ariana Grande arena bombing. Their job is to spread terror. Then, you know, there's a certain amount of, I'm not going to let the terrorists win, and I'm not going to walk around being terrorized. But at the same time, if it's your daughter wanting to go to this gig, and you think, oh God, what if it is targeted? What if we're just the unlucky ones? Then that is terrorism 101, and that's why they've gone after young girls, because this is, I don't know, it's just what they do. It's horrible. George, how do we resolve Refugees and Immigration Act 1971? Says George. I don't know. We'll have to have a look at that, I think. But thank you very much for the super chat. A lot of hotels around the UK are used by long-distance travellers and lorry drivers when they clock off and can't go any further. We need the hotels back. The Labour are on it. They're processing the asylum applications. The Tories stopped processing the asylum applications, and the cost of having housing refugees went from something like £600 million a year. It rocketed up to over £3 billion a year because of the Tories, because of their Torying. All of this makes the environment and biodiversity crisis overlooked again. Yep, very true. Not going to stop bugging people about this. As well, you shouldn't, mate. As well, you shouldn't. Pardon me. Visa curbs spark rapid fall in new migrants. This is requests to work or study in the UK down by a third. This is not a good thing. We need to celebrate immigration. People who want to come. These are people coming here legally on a visa to study or work. Studying, brilliant. It gives money to our economy. It brings money in from other countries into our university sector. It helps pay for our British students at British universities. Bring it on. But the Tories decided, no, we're going to make it really difficult to get a visa. We're not going to allow you to bring your family with you. We're not going to let you do this and that and the other. And now there's going to be job shortages as a result. And it's not like Tommy Ten Names' crew of lunatics who are now going to be banged up for the next couple of years are going to be helping the job situation anytime soon, because they're going to be in jail, most of them. Labour man held over call to cut rioters' vote, a ridiculous, horrible thing. This was the Labour councillor who was actually in London, who was suspended from the council, suspended as a Labour member, and then he came out with this. And it's guilt by association for Labour, which we don't need right now. And what a stupid, irresponsible, dickhead thing to say. Khan, I'm no longer safe as a Muslim. This is Sadiq Khan, Mayor of London, talking about how he doesn't feel safe anymore. And then there's a shot putter who was misgendered by a TV presenter. Riot thugs jailed and shamed on TV as courts get tough. This was actually yesterday. They showed two of the rioters, one who was rioting in Southport, and the one who was rioting in North Liverpool last week. And they both went down for over 2 years. I think one of them cried. What a shame. And then there's a story about hairy people. Laws to stop fake news are not fit for purpose, says London Mayor. Again, Sadiq Khan. He's absolutely right. And then Google and Meta struck secret ads deal to target teens. Does that come as any surprise to anyone? No. You know what Google's motto used to be? Do no evil. Don't be evil. Don't be evil. They dropped that quietly in 2018. Reeves to order ministers to make major savings amid defence cuts is there. And Taylor terror cops on alert. Fears ahead of Star's UK return after foiled bomb plot. Obviously, this is what I'm talking about people being scared to take their kids to a gig, which is not great. Howard, do what you need to do. Ignore haters and put your mother first, or you'll be the only one harbouring regret. So there's plenty of haters when you return. Sigh, peace. We're talking about people taking some time off social media. Really good idea if you need to do that for your mental health. Please do. Johnny, you solve immigration problem with helping the third world develop a strong economy. Really good point, Johnny. You're absolutely right. We stifle the economies of developing nations around the world. We steal their raw materials for a song. I mean, we pay them for it, but only as much as we paid for the slaves that we abducted back in the day. Sorry, I touched the microphone then. So I apologize to anyone wearing headphones. It was a very weird thing to say. You can't expect anyone to do it, but a very stupid thing. Yes, it was a very stupid thing to say. Purity, I desperately want to emigrate back to Europe. The thought of spending the rest of my life on a damp, cold rock fills me with absolute horror. I just realised as well I can highlight the messages I'm reading this way. I might leave it like this. Can you read that all right? I can make the text bigger if you want. My only big problem with this is the gap between the messages is too big, so you can't fit as much text in. But I mean, I can make it bigger if you want. If you want me to make the text bigger, let me know. If you can't read it, I mean, on the phone, it's very difficult to read. But if you're watching on a laptop, it should be all right. Skitch Monkey says, I took some time off Facebook 10 years ago, never returned to it. Best move I made there. Yeah, I took time off Facebook after I got banned for a week during the 2020 American election. I got banned for a week for sending out I put out a Guardian news article about Bolsonaro. Remember Bolsonaro? I think he's in jail now. Who was the president of Brazil at the time, and it was about his his purposeful deforestation of the Amazonian rainforest. And he, oh my god, I posted it, and what I wrote as like a comment was OH full stop, and I got banned for a week, and I was like, and since then I haven't really used it that much because I just got into fights with my mates. At least when you're fighting with people on Twitter, you don't necessarily know them. But I've abandoned Twitter now. I just go there now to just call Elon Musk a piss gargling thunder. See you next Tuesday. So yeah, that's all I'm using it for at the moment. But if you are still on Twitter, or if you're left Twitter, but your account is still active, please go onto it using a laptop and go to the settings. You can't do this on your phone. You got to do it in your laptops. Go into the privacy settings and turn off or uncheck the box that says give Grok your tweets in order to make AI tweets, which is what dickhead, what's his name, Elon Musk wants to do. So don't let them take your data. Of course, it's on. It's not an opt-in system. It's an opt-out system. Thanks for that, Elon. Balls the piston of that Tommy, as a Brexiteer, has freedom of movement thanks to his Irish passport. Dirty Jokes fan says, yeah. So does Nigel Farage's kids. So does Boris Johnson. He doesn't care. He's got enough money. If you're rich, Brexit doesn't affect you. If you've got money, Brexit does not affect you in any way, shape or form. Because you can buy the visas, you can buy the work permits, you can have £28,000 in your bank account so you can go and live in Spain for the rest of your life. The rest of us, we can't do that. £28,000 in your bank account? Who has that kind of money? The kind of people who told you to vote for Brexit. That's who. And while these dickheads from the working class are going to be going to jail for the next few years, and their wives are at home, you can bet your bottom dollar that their lonely wives will probably be picked up by the millionaires who told the people to go out and riot. The Farages and the Tates and the Tommy 10 names of this world. They'll be like, hoo 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 hoo, Farage riot widows. I'll get in there. I wouldn't, because I've seen some pictures of them. Text bigger, please. About 2 points. Your fish is my concern. There you go. Is that all right? What about that? Is that better? Look at that. See that? See how quick that was done? So what's happened? The reason why the text is so small, as you saw before, is because normally is because I've added a load of CSS to this thing in order to make the text the right size and the right font and everything that I want it to be. And for some reason, OBS is not reading my CSS. If you know what I'm talking about, great. If you don't, oh well. The only problem now is I can only see like that much of the text, so I can't read that many texts. Phonebox Chicken, I felt a lot better since dropping Facebook in 2020 around the time of the US election. Same here. Never done Twitter or TikTok. TikTok's better than Twitter. And you don't really get into arguments. Like I don't bother reading the comments. I just scroll through and watch the videos. So that's all right. 28 grand high bar passport, indeed. Bojo's dad has a French passport. Probably means Bojo has one too. Wouldn't surprise me. Purity Vendetta. I always believed my European citizenship was a right. How naive was I? Nearly half was voted to remain and were totally ignored. It was a privilege, as it could be taken by a win by grifters. Grifters who don't lose the privilege. That is the worst thing about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've got some respect for the officers in World War One who went over the out of the trench, over the barbed wire, across the minefield, into the enemy guns with their men. They went with their men, and they went over into the mud, over the top, with their men. Farage, Tommy 10 names, Elon Musk, all these bastards who tell their flock, their sheep, to go and do horrible things on their behalf, or want to take away the rights of those people and say, let's leave the European Convention of Human Rights. Yeah, that's fine for them. They can afford really expensive lawyers. If they ever get into a legal pickle, they can afford expensive lawyers. They don't need the European Convention of Human Rights the same way that the rest of us do, who can't afford expensive lawyers. who need the fact that we get a lawyer if we're accused of something, and they're a decent lawyer, and they'll tell you what you're best doing in any given criminal case. The fact that we have habeas corpus, the fact that we have laws down on the books to protect our rights. They don't need those rights. So they sit in the trenches. No, they don't. They sit 20 miles back from the trenches in a French chateau by a roaring fire in a leather wingback chair, sipping cognac, looking over a map, sending the Tommies, not the Tommy Robinsons, but the Tommies, the soldiers, the working class soldiers over the top to be turned into mincemeat by the enemy guns. And they laugh. They laugh their sick little asses off because they don't put their lives on the line. They lose nothing. Nada. Zip. Don't forget that. And if anyone in your life thinks that Farage has got something to say, please point this out to them. Please point out that his kids have got German passports and they can go and live and work anywhere in the EU. Can their kids? Because if they're voted to take that right away from their own children, but not away, specifically not away from Farage's children or from Tommy 10 names, do you think there's something wrong there? Do you think that something's happened that, shouldn't have happened? Because I do. Nova, I think the World War II term was lines led by donkeys. It's like Stephen Fry's character from Blackadder. It was World War One. Lines led by donkeys. Wouldn't have happened without social media. The Musk riots. I agree to a certain extent that, we could call them the Musk riots, but I get you. Text fine now. My eyes are 79 years old. Never been banned from social media and got very loud and very sweary in my vids. Nick says, that's from One Angry Pagan. Nick says, when it comes to hard Brexit, it's important we make the distinction between we or the UK voting for it. In reality, a tiny number of UK politicians caused it, starting with Theresa May's red lines. Well, yeah, you're right. Nigel Farage went, because there's specifically hard Brexit. But that hard Brexit was voted for by voters in the 2019 election, and it wasn't really contested that much by the then leader of the opposition, who did fuck all, to actually fight against Brexit. Fight against the Tories' flagship policy that took rights, dignity, and freedoms away from working class people, from middle class people. Didn't take them away from him because he's a millionaire. He grew up in a country house. He went to a private prep school. Doesn't care. Doesn't affect him. Anyway, Tufton Street riots. Oh, God, yeah, let's see him. TikTok Teletubbies. Tick Teletubbies. Pagan, if you tone it down a bit, you might get more views, says Billy Kershaw. Well, we get a lot of views on this channel. Sometimes a few C-bombs, F-bombs. The Nick Ferrari riot, another privately educated millionaire. Do you want to name some more privately educated millionaires who caused all this shit? Boris Johnson, Jacob Rees-Mogg, Michael Gove, Lawrence Fox, the Andrew Wigmore, Richard Tice, all privately educated, like all Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel and Oakeshott went to the same fucking school as the king. She went to Gordeston in Scotland. She went to the same private school as the king. And she's talking about the working class in her comments. She's talking about working hard because she had to work for the Strathclyde Clothier in her 20s, and she knows what working hard is. Oh! Brexit doesn't affect her. Doesn't affect her children, if she has any. I don't know. John Lydon, a Brexiteer and MAGA supporter, also travels on an Irish passport. Anarchy for thee, not for me. Hey, John, says Acro Dave. Very good point. Massive hypocrite there. Johnny Rotten from the Sex Pistols. Gobshite. Butter-selling gobshite. One Angry Pagan. It's enough for people to show that anger, I think, is necessary. I call myself One Angry Pagan for a reason. And David Faulkner, thank you very much. Very generous. 158 Hong Kong dollars. That is... Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sad to see what's happening in Britain. We also had peaceful protests that were hijacked by far-right extremists. The perception being in the UK that it was a loathing of immigrants, and in Hong Kong it was a loathing of the poor mainlanders. David, this is what happens. This is what happens when we allow people like Farage to control the narrative. That's the big problem. Anyway, I've gone way over time. I've got 16 minutes. The private school riots, that's what we should call it. Phone box chicken is a very good point. Nick Griffith. Nick Griffin. Do you remember him? BMP, Nick Griffin. Yeah? Guy who looks like the drunk at the end of the bar. Yeah, privately educated. Went to private school, boys and girls. Don't let them con you. Tim Martin, who, the whole Weatherspoons guy, yeah, privately educated. Rocco Forte, massive Brexiter, privately educated. James Bamford, is it Bamford his name? JCB, privately educated. Do we need to go on? Oh, James Dyson, yeah, Dyson guy, big Brexiteer, pissed off to Singapore, didn't he? Yeah. Privately educated. Mate, it doesn't affect them. I can't stress this enough. And when I point this out to people and they try to scrabble for some justification for their vote for this thing that took my rights away, took my life as I wanted it to progress away. Because don't forget, I used to work all across Europe making bloody videos about travel, which was fun and exciting and adventurous. I loved doing it. I got paid very well for doing it. Can't do it anymore because I need a work permit. They've taken that from me. But not from Farage's kids. How dare they? How dare they? Yeah, Tufton Street riots. I might be up for that. Fascism seems to be on the curriculum of public schools. They produce a lot of them. Yeah, they do. They do, Ernie Burns. You're absolutely right. But yeah, at the same time, the people who go, oh, but my kid goes to private school. He's all right. I'm like, yeah, not all of them turn out wrong. But so many of them turn out wrong. And they have the power to spread their wrongness, spread their evil, spread their fascist desires, their Nazi beliefs across vast swathes of the population. They have the means, they have the motivation, and they have the twisted education that I guess they get in these schools where you are way more likely to be abused. So anyone who sends their kids to these schools because they want a good education, they are rolling the dice on whether their kid turns out to suffer from mental health problems later in life or just turn into a complete psychopath. Because they are that's the chance you're going to take by sending your kid to these schools. I love these green and rolling hills and gorgeous woodland of Devonshire, says One Angry Pagan, and then retracted the message. Sorry about that, One Angry Pagan. Calvin Robinson, they didn't go to private school. My life, so sorry they did that to you, it's so wrong. Bright blessings to you, says Awakened Soul. They make a lot of dosh, then F off, indeed. Is that the time? Have a good one, peeps. Ta-ta for now. That's from Howard, giving us the old Vulcan salute. Funny how we never hear from Farage's kids. Nigel, that's from Patrick. Nick says, YouTube nanny filter it again. 2019 wasn't to get Brexit done. It was mostly a vote for anyone but Corbyn. Corbyn supporters cynically blame Brexit for the general election 2019 rout. You are absolutely right. It was anyone but Corbyn. The previous leader of the opposition, whose name should not be mentioned on this channel. Sorry, the previous but one. When you emigrate, do you have to have a reason? Do you have to give a reason to your home government? No, but you have to give a reason to the government of the country that you're going to. They have to give permission. That never used to happen for us traveling across the EU. We were allowed to go anywhere, live anywhere, get married, build a house, buy a house, start a business. We could do anything in 31 countries across our own continent. And that has been taken away by Tommy Ten Names and Nigel Farage and their racist mates. It's been taken from you. And if that doesn't make you angry and upset, then I guess you've got an Irish passport. I don't know. The concerned citizen with legitimate question riots. Yeah, indeed, Acro Dave. James O'Brien isn't far left. He's a centrist. He's very much a centrist. So just get him on. Talking about trans rights. James O'Brien was far left was equally to blame. Says Darren. No, what? How was James O'Brien equally to blame for Brexit? Like, he didn't even make a name for himself until after the Brexit vote, and he was just one of the few people in the media, although he is privately educated, of course, because they all are, to actually, he was one of the few people to actually point out the horror and the stupidity of Brexit. Although I do feel like I said the words, we have imposed economic sanctions on ourselves on a Three Blokes in the Pub podcast before he said it. I don't want to stake my reputation on it because, my reputation's in tatters most of the time, but I got a feeling, look, I've got to go. I've got loads of stuff to do today. I might do some work in the garden, this morning, since it's not raining at this exact moment, and got to get some stuff done. And I'm going to be back at 1 o'clock with Phil Morehouse to do the agenda, which is going to be at 1 o'clock till 2 o'clock, live and interactive, just like this. And then this evening at 9, we're going to be doing the Politics Social all over again. It'll be fun. I've got some beers. I don't know if you noticed, but I haven't had a drink in the Politics Social for the last month or so because I've felt very well. Feeling a bit better. Still got my cough. Haven't coughed for the whole show, which is good because I have to turn the mic off and choke in front of you and hopefully don't die. I mean, God, what would you do? What would you do if I just collapsed on the desk after a coughing fit? You'd be like, shit, can we get an ambulance to Graham's house? Where does he live? I don't know. Durham. Send an ambulance to Durham. Aqua Dave O'Brien may be privately educated, but at least he's never tried to hide it. That's very true. But he sends his kids to private school as well. So it's like his opinion on it is that it should be like smoking indoors. It should be made illegal. It should just be banned outright. But until it is banned, he's going to give his kids the leg up that other kids don't get. He's going to give them opportunities that other kids don't get by dint of the fact that their dad's a millionaire. So yeah, bright and breezy in County Durham. Stick the washing machine on. Indeed, Adam Posen first coined imposing sanctions on ourselves. Oh, was it Adam? Was it? Okay. Light and peace, Graham, from Ernie Burns. Thank you very much for that, mate, and to you too. Absolutely. So yeah, join us at 1, join us at 9, if you can. If you can't, have a great weekend. And until next time, I'll say thanks very much for the chat. Thank you for the super chat. It's very kind of you. And until... O'Brien is extreme centralist. George, how can you be an extreme centralist? It's like the opposite of being an extremist. It's sitting on the fence, if anything. Rudy, new to your channel, Graham, but boy, can you talk for 10 people. Lol. Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to have to go now because I'm about to have a coughing fit. But until 1 o'clock, hopefully, when I see you again, just join the chat. Just subscribe to the channel. Join the chat. I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.